Hi there, welcome to the archives. So I think this is live. No, I don't think I know because I just hit it. Um, I was planning on doing this one live after all of it took me a while to get the previous episodes up. The last three telepathy episodes were a nightmare to put up. So I thought about going live already. And then this week I've been taking Hannah Dixon from Digital Nomad Kit. Hannah's been doing the 5-day VA challenge. So I've been taking part of the 5-day VA challenge, and today is day 5, and today's day 5's challenge is to go live um, on our platform. And so I thought I would do this one live. And before I go into it, part of the VA coaching, she had us do our declaration, which I thought I would just do as an introduction here, just because I tend to forget to do introductions actually. So, hi, if you don't know me, I'm Dorothy. Like I've said before, I did my PhD in feminist and gender studies. I looked at the role of shame and how it gets in the way of our interpersonal relationships. So that's kind of some of the work I've been doing the last maybe 10 years, um, behind the scenes as well as with this. So, hi, I'm Dorothy. I empower individuals and organizations to address the challenging emotions that get in the way of our interpersonal relationships. Um, I do this by offering these free YouTube courses. Well, they're not courses, these free YouTube videos. I'm looking to do courses soon. I'm looking to also offer Aria. Of course, now that I get onto live, she's like, Ari, um, I'm looking to offer courses in the future. But for right now, I'm just gonna stick to the YouTube videos as well as my LinkedIn. So hop over on LinkedIn if you're not there. That's where I'm most active. And then I also use writing, right? So I use fiction and nonfiction to have these conversations. And I think in a little bit of a less threatening way, especially when you're talking about shame. Shame is so shameful to have the conversation. A lot of us were, told to be afraid of shame, to be ashamed of shame. And so we tend to like avoid any of those conversations. So it can be really difficult actually to have these kind of conversations, but it's what I enjoy doing. It serves my greater purpose because I am passionate about storytelling. I love storytelling, and I enjoy putting words together that create and or have an impact, right? I would like for it to have an impact. So that's a little bit about me. And on that note, what would you like to see from me? I'm not sure if you're new to my channel, if you haven't been here before. Is there something a topic about emotions that you're interested in having? What are some of the challenges I've seen? The next few videos, I think I'm going to address public shaming and humiliation because we're in this. If you're a Ghanaian, you might not. I feel like wearing blue and white or white and black is what we usually do for funerals. If you know anything about Ghanaian funerals, you know that usually day 3 or on Sunday we wear black and white intima. This was from a funeral I've actually went to, and I feel like this is what this week is. It feels 2016 felt more like the black and red. This feels more like Sunday. Sunday we go to church to celebrate the death. You've laid the person to rest. You celebrated the night before, the day before, and you wake up Sunday to kind of just give thanks and to reflect on that life. I think that's what I've been feeling this week. Is like we knew it was coming, it's here. Um, I've had my own moments of despair, but I think mostly I want it to feel like a Sunday, right? Where you show up to church in these bold, audacious shoulder pads that people are like, what are you doing? Did somebody die or not? Um, anyway, so what would you like to see me if you want to see me at all? There's a Yera. Submit your feedback here if you have any for me at all. Or you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I'm also on, look at her. I'm also on Gmail, so seahorsegal at the archives. No, just seahorsegal at gmail.com. Ayira. So I'm gonna get into what this video is about. I wanted to talk about the five things that are the 5 things that she's distracting me. The 5 things I wish I had known about intuition sooner. And so for me, the first one is I wish I had known that intuition is actually quite normal, right? I think it's something, especially if you look at mainstream media, anything outside of the sci-fi world, it's intuition is something that's like not real, or if it is real, it's something that like women do, like I talked about in one of the previous blogs, right? It's usually associated with like artists and like folks that are out there on the fringes, folks that are woo-woo. It's not often something that's taken seriously. And so I never really took it seriously, right? I was raised Catholic. And so it was just like, that's something they do over there, right? Over there being like the heathens, the demonic folks. Intuition was not really seen as something that was praised, although it was actually quite normal, which is the first thing. It was actually quite normal. And I wish I had known that. Be careful, please. I wish that I had known that it was quite normal. Because not knowing that, I created so many assumptions. I had so many assumptions about who does intuition and the spiritual girls and all, like especially within the African community, it's like African traditional. It's often associated with like African traditional religion, white witchcraft. So it wasn't something that I specifically got into. I wish I had known it was normal. That's the first thing. I wish I'd known that it's not supernatural. It's not actually woo woo. Like I said in one of the previous blogs, firefighters into it, judges, doctors. If you've ever gone on a public transit bus with the bus drivers, right? Driving is very intuitive. Um, and so it's actually quite normal. I wish I had known that. Number 2, it's always been who I've been. In retrospect, I've always been an intuitive person since I was a little kid, at least. And that's not just stories that I hear other people tell me, but that's also just my own experiences. I remember being in like elementary school, middle school, and seeing and hearing, not seeing, I don't see stuff, but like I I don't see stuff as in I don't see ghosts, but I'm a visual person. So it's kind of like a movie. So I'll have a flash of like, there was this one time we were at a party and I saw one of the elders I was with getting a ticket, like a driving ticket for drinking and driving. And I was like, "Ooh, something's gonna happen here." Nobody listened to me at tutus. We end up getting a ticket, right? Licenses were revoked. And I was like, I remember that moment of seeing it happen and then not saying anything because you're a little child and then it unfolding. There's been other times where I've had dreams. I don't know where the dreams came from. And then tutus, the dream happened. And so that's always been who I was as a little kid. I think for most of us, you learn to leave it behind because you learn it doesn't, you learn to leave it behind because it makes you really sensitive and people really see you as crazy. You see yourself as crazy. I was like, how did I know that was going to happen? Not to say I'm psychic, because I'm not psychic, but I definitely I am a visionary in terms of like, I will get downloads of stuff. And I didn't know because I was a little kid. I didn't realize that that was actually so normal, but it's always been who I've been. I'm going to speed up a bit. Number 3, it was hard to decipher. I wish I had known that it was how hard it was to decipher between intuition and fear. I think initially for me, I was mistaking a lot of fear as intuition. Because it would be like, do this, go here. And it took me a very long time to learn that's fear. That's fear. That's not your intuition, baby girl. That is fear. And it took me a really long time because I would associate things with intuition when actually it was just a fear response. And there's a subtle difference between intuition and fear. Intuition, like others have said, and what I soon learned, is it's really calm. When I'm in an intuitive state, I just do things. It's not even like a message. It's just you're doing it or you just know, right? I'm just going to go right. I don't know why, but I'm going to go right. I'm going to go here. I'm going to take this decision. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Whereas with fear, sometimes it's like, oh my God, there's a danger, go right. And then you go right. And then it's like either nothing happens or, sorry, is it still working? Yeah. Yeah, so that's the difference between intuition and fear was really hard for me to grasp at first. And that leads me to my fourth point. I wish I had known and had the wherewithal to hire somebody to help me, a trainer, a coach, um, somebody who knows what it is that they're doing. They themselves are trained, and they train and help others with it. That's also financial, right? If you don't always have the financial capacity to hire folks, then it's a privilege to hire somebody, which is why I haven't. But even still, I think like if you want something, you would do it, right? If I wanted to, I think I could have found a way to take that more seriously. So training, looking and hiring somebody who actually knows what it is they're doing around intuition would have really helped me. I would have found that really helpful. And it would have saved me a lot of time. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. Um, it's really difficult because what we're talking about, there's a thin line between that and like madness, right? Like I said, the thin line between intuition and fear. That fear can be really debilitating if you have mental illnesses, if you already have anxiety, if you're highly anxious. If you're struggling with agoraphobia, you can't go out because you're afraid that like somebody's going to get you when you go out. Is that intuition or is that fear? Likely that's fear. But if you're not seeking that professional help, you're not going to know how to decipher the difference between it. Same with hearing voices, right? If you are not with somebody who's trained, historically, ancestrally, by like 13, 14, as you're going through that transition, right, that milestone, we had somebody there helping to train us, showing us the ways. A lot of our cultures, look at you, see your life. Aria, you almost took the whole thing down. You had somebody that was training you, right? I think some of us don't have that now. And so it's easier to get caught into the mental illness. It's so much easier to get caught into the mental, and that definitely happened for me, right? You just go down a really, really dark hole. Folks, I think in online spiritual communities, they call it like dark night of the soul, right? If you're not seeking help, which I didn't always, I struggled to ask for help. So that was really challenging. But that's what I would say. Hire somebody, a therapist, preferably, not just somebody in the spiritual field, but somebody who is trained, a social worker who is trained, a registered therapist. All of that is really important, just because the suicide ideations, like it can get really dark and heavy, right? When you're having intuitive hits about folks that you love, for instance, and you don't want to believe it because you can't believe it, or you find it hard to, that's somewhere where you need somebody to help you with it. And I wish I had had that. I wish I had done that. Um, which goes to the last point, is to trust it. That's the simplest thing. If you're working with intuition, then if you believe it, then why aren't you trusting it? That's a question I had for myself. If you believe it, then why aren't you trusting it? And for so long, I did not trust it. I did not trust it. I kept on doing things to test it, rather than to just trust it. And I wish I had known to just trust it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get into one of the episodes later. I'll get into the alt-right pipeline, right? Into the conservative. Like I found that when I was initially looking at the spiritual communities, there was a lot of like love and light and humans love, but like no one could actually talk about critical race theory. No one could name racism. It was just like we're all supposed to just be so positive, but it was not realistic because it did not address actual real life, right? And so I'm gonna get that. Aria, that's so unnecessary. Um, in a later post. So just to trust it, because I didn't, and I wish I had trusted my intuition sooner. I'm still struggling to trust my intuition, right? Aria, This is what I deal with here. She just does the most unnecessary stuff and then she runs off. That's not necessary, Ari. I'm going to end it here. This is the last one. I had a bonus. It does make life actually really magical. Because things happen that you don't know how they happen. You just know things it's actually very futuristic. If you're an Afrofuturist, it's really fun. It's actually really, really fun and it can make life really enjoyable. But that's the bonus I had. I'm going to end it here. Until next time, in solidarity. Okay, take care.